All right, you dirty rats. It's time to review the board game Blood Feud in New York. Let's check it out. All right, so starting off, here's the board, and look how huge this board is. This is my hand on a huge board. Of course, you have New Jersey, Staten Island, Brooklyn, Queens, the Bronx, and Manhattan. Now, the book lets you know, depending on how many players you have, where everyone will start off with. You'll say, hey, use these starting points on a 6-player, 2-player game. Also, it tells you how many pieces you'll start off with, depending on how many players. This is like a little play now book. They do have a regular instructional book, but this one's really nice because it basically just tells you exactly how travel goes, how fights go, how factoring income goes, really quick. This is like a quick guide. For someone who has played it before and needs a refresher, this is what you would need to go through, and I really like it, and it's really nice cardstock here, so it doesn't get damaged that much. But anyway, some of the stuff that you have in this game. You have cash that is all white, but denotes different denominations that sometimes are very hard to determine which is which. And I'll talk about that in my review. You also have illicit activities going on. If you can see this little thing there, looks really nice. I'll talk about more about that. Police precincts you can pay off. They got penthouse towers here that come into the game. They have cool little vehicles like limos and boats and helicopters with real spinning propellers. Wait, oh, my finger's in the way there. Look at that. That's awesome. That is awesome. And they have these little worthless little ident things. You can slip it on. It doesn't connect to it, just slips on top. You can just put it on top of it to show that yellow owns this, or red or blue or whatnot. These are almost pointless in the game, but wish there was something better. Again, another time for the review. You're also going to get a lot of 10-sided dice, both red and black, which I think are really nice. And so you're also going to be playing with some of these characters. You have a boss, and you have a family member, or kind of like a lieutenant in your mafia. And these come in all sorts of colors and whatnot in the game to play up to 6 players. You're also going to be getting things like thugs, which these are the thugs here. These are the henchmen here, one of the silver ones. And then the hitmen are the gold ones. So gold, silver, and bronze there. And that's basically how deadly they are in that order. Hitmen are the most dangerous, then mercenaries, then thugs. So how the game goes. First off, you'll start in your designated area with your boss and your lieutenant. So let's just say in a game, I'm going to start off, you start from one of the star realms. I'm in Brooklyn, all right, Crown Heights. That's where I start. Now, at this point in the game, what you're going to do, and the game gives you a little quick guide here of what your turn order is. So at the beginning of your turn, all players can move to battle other people. That means you're moving on squares where maybe, let's say I have an army right here and they were right here and they happen to just move, and these are bridges. They move across this bridge to do battle. Let's give him a character too. And that's one thing. All these are generic, the henchmen, the thugs, and the hitmen, so you need to keep them separated so you don't get confused on whose is whose. But anyway, I can move in there and then play in a battle. How a battle goes is very simple. You would just roll the die. Each one on the back of the sheet here, you have a little card action table here. It tells you how fast they can move. As you see, hitmen and henchmen move faster than family members, bosses, and thugs. You need a boss or family member to start a battle. They can't start it on their own. So you have to have a family member or the boss join them in that battle. Now these guys can move across, they just can't fight. They need a leader when they're going to a fight. If they're not going to a fight, they can move. So if maybe I have some henchmen and hitman over here, they can move 2 over here and join my big army. Also on the attack roll, it tells you how much they would need to hit. So bosses and family members are 5 or plus as a hit. Hitman's a 4, henchman's a 6, thug is a 7. But as you see here, it says, hey, this is 1 sneak attack, no retaliation. What does that mean? Basically, it means if I have a hitman, which I do in this case, I would get to roll a die for free and get 1 free hit. Now remember, hitman is a 4 plus to get a hit, and whew, barely got it, I rolled a 4. So what I would do is the other player would remove one of his characters from play, and now we would start the game. Now I would roll again and get, well, I missed there, that was a 3. And then I'd roll for my family member who's a 5 or plus, and he got a hit too. So maybe he takes away the henchman. And now, because it's a new round, the henchman does get to fire. So he's going to roll. He has a 6 or plus to get a hit. He did not. So now he's going to be removed from the game. But the family member's still there. He's going to fire, and he's going to get a 7, which definitely takes out the hitman. Well, now it's a new round, so now it's lieutenant versus lieutenant. At any time, anyone can retreat. The attacker may retreat, or the defender may say, hey, this is your place, and move to another square if they can. In that case, I'd roll the die again, see if I got a 5. Yeah, I got an 8. I got him. I got some choices on what I can do. I can kill him off. I can hold him for ransom. Those are my 2 choices. What do I want to do? If you want to kill him off, it's really going to hurt your other opponent because they need these to go into battle, like I said. And the more that you kill off, the more harder you make it for your opponent. But even better is holding them for ransom. Yeah, you can get money out of them. Or if you take over, like if I take over the blue boss, then any captured lieutenants that I have or family members become my family members. And in the game, in this chart that I'll explain later, the more family members you have add to the cost of your income that's coming in, to how much land you own. The land that you own is multiplied by the family members you have in your family. Now, he's not a family member until I kill the boss. Once I kill the boss, I can take any captured family members. Any of them that were not captured die. They're removed from the game. So it basically gives you incentive to, capture anyone that you take. And of course, if someone were to kill my boss, they would get any of my family members that I had captured already. So if blue killed my boss member, then they're going to get their blue lieutenant back if I didn't kill him off before then. So that's how battles go. The other thing you can do, of course, is move, and you'll spread out, and you'll use these little tokens and basically to show that you own the place, and they're listed by color there. And so that basically shows you're exploiting that territory. And the more you exploit, of course, the more money you'll get on the revenue table here. And this thing is very fickle. I mean, look at all this. It takes forever to count up spaces, but I'll get to that in the review. Anyway, after you do that, you would factor up all your revenue, like I said. You'd count out the number of places that you own, and then multiply it by the family members that you have. Any captured family members do not count. For instance, if I captured him, if I was red, I couldn't count him. Blue can't count him because they don't have him yet. They have to free him or maybe pay a ransom for him. Now, there are some neutral places in the game where you can make some drop-offs, which is really cool. They have a bunch of parks that can't be owned by anyone, but you can make drop-offs like neutral zones. They also have airports too, which you do have to pay a nominal fee. I believe it is $20. Let's see here. Yeah, $20 on airport landings if you want your helicopter to land on one of those spaces. So let's look at some other things. As you can see here, very easy to tell you what you get costs. After you've added up all of your revenue, like the game says, add up all your revenue, then you can start buying stuff. And of course, you just flip the sheet over and see what all you want to buy. So limousines, they can move up to 4 spaces and then carry 5 people, and they're good for fast attacks. Man, 4 spaces, that's faster than any of these people can go. So you may want a limo to chart your guys around. Speedboats go even faster. They're a 5 and they can carry 5 people. And as you see, there's waterways all through here. So moving 5 spaces, I could be here in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm already down in Staten Island. I came from Inglewood. That's pretty amazing. And a boat can do that for you on one move. But then you look at helicopters. Holy cow, they can move 9 spaces. Now, the caveat about helicopters is they must land in controlled territory, meaning territory you own. Remember, you can also land them in the airport of your enemy and then send out an attack, because airports are generic spots. But, of course, you would have to pay that airport fee of $20. Now, other things you can do, illicit activities, which were those buildings I showed you earlier. If you buy one of these and put it on property that you own, instead of getting the generic $10 per property that you own, you're actually getting a bonus $40 from this. So basically $50 per place that you have, that you own, that you have some illicit activity, maybe gambling, something like that. So that's really neat. It can generate a lot of income for you. Other ones are corrupt precincts. They start off at a cost of 130. Basically, you're paying off the police in that area that you own so that you can do anything. Now, if someone wants to take over, let's say Blue wanted to come in and they wanted to take over this precinct, well, they would have to pay off the cops $100 more. So they would have to pay them $230. Well, let's say later on, I want to come back and own this, and there's no one on it. I would have to pay them $330. So it becomes a bidding war, and it actually gets things so, things can get very costly when you have corrupt precincts in there, but it's also interesting. Now, the other thing about precincts is you may have to bribe a precinct. If I have a guy here and my blue guy wants to attack him, well, before he goes in there, he has to pay $50 to the bank to bribe that precinct to attack on my land. So not only is he going to have to pay $100, which now it's like what, $330? He's going to have to pay $430 plus $50 to fight in it. Whether win or lose, he's out $50. And if he wins, he's got to pay off the police precinct again, even more money to claim it. So police precincts are good to have for that reason alone. Finally, you have the Penthouse Palace, which is this beautiful tower here. You can put one up, usually at your headquarters. You don't have to. New supplies will always go to wherever your boss is, unless you have a penthouse palace. If you have a penthouse palace, you can send supplies to that penthouse instead of where your boss is. So that's one good reason to have them. Another good reason is they add on defense. It's a +3 to any attacker's minimum hit rolls. So remember earlier, I said the hitman here, he was a 4 or higher. Well, if I'm trying to take a hit on the boss there and I move into that field, well now, because it's a penthouse, I have to roll a 7 or higher. Let's see if I do it. Nope, I rolled a 6. Usually I would kill him, but this time I did not because he was at a penthouse. So they're also good for defense as well. But of course they cost a lot. As you see, these things can cost. Helicopters can cost a whole lot. Now, they don't put a minimum on what all items you can buy. We kind of put our own minimum on limos, helicopters, and boats. Basically saying 2 helicopters. That's a house rule. You can decide. You can have unlimited whatever you need. But of course, all of these vehicles, illicit activities, paid off precincts, penthouse towers can all add up. Now what you're trying to do, there are 2 ways to win the game. One is to eliminate all the other bosses in the game, or the second way is to have enough funds to get $6,000 income. Now of course, if you see here, to get $6,000, I got to do that with 5,000 members or whatnot. So 6,000 would be really hard to get. If you can accumulate that much cash though, you'll be spending cash and using it. But again, I'll save that for the review. That is Blood Feud in New York. All right, so final thoughts. What do I think about this game? Folks, first off, this is one of the games I played at Gen Con. And it was my second most favorite game I ever played. And I remember as we were playing it, I was having so much fun. When it was someone else's turn, I got on my phone and bought a copy secondhand. Just like that. Now, the game does have its faults. First off, the money. That's cheap paper. It's no good. Money's kind of useless. Just get a pen and pad and write out how much you have because you're going to spend it anyway. Again, like I said, it makes no sense to sit there. If you're making $2,000 per round, you're thinking, oh, if I sit here for 3 rounds, I'll win the game. Yeah, if you just sit still and don't buy anything, everyone else is going to be buying something. They're going to come after you and they're going to, wipe you off the face of the planet. So you need to keep buying enough to build up your army and, but also to expand and make more money. In every game we've played, one person won by getting 6,000 in for income. Other than that, it's been total annihilation of the families. That's how we've played to win. And that is one of the most fun ways to play. But money, not really necessary, especially with that cheap money that's all white and can get confusing after a while. Especially when you have to dole it out to everyone. They're just going to turn it back into you and spend it. If they don't, then I guess you can give them to keep it. But I wouldn't really dole out that money. It's kind of useless in the game. Another thing I don't like is you having to count out every time how much land you own to denote how much money you get. That is daunting, and you have to do it over and over again every round. Conquest of the Empire has a score tracker at the bottom of the board, where every time you conquer land, you move up on the score tracker. Every time you lose that land, you go down. Blood Feud in New York could benefit from having something very similar to that. Now, it wouldn't be hard to make. Maybe I just need to sit down one day and make one out for the game. But that would be way more better for the game than to have that stupid score thing and where you have to count every time. Another grief is the little markers that they give you for the boats, the limos, and the helicopters to say it's your own. Those are worthless. They don't even fit on there very well. They're basically extra pieces just to show you, since they're all the same color. I don't know why they did that. Again, Conquest of the Empire did it much better by giving you vehicles, weapons, army of the same color. So instead of, you know, there's a pool full of hitmen and army, mercs and thugs. Man, just have them all painted blue, yellow, green, red, you know, their respective colors, and have them each their pool to buy from. Someone could buy out of all the hitman, and then that would be it, and they'd have almost an unstoppable army of hitman. We've kind of had to house rule it to where you can only get X amount of hitmen, X amount of vehicles and whatnot, because someone, I actually loaded up on all the helicopters the first time we played and then dominated the board. But we kind of put a limit on that. You have to do that. Plus, in battle, you have to keep them separated because they're the same color and who's who. I don't know why because Eagle Gryphon Games, which made this game, also did Conquest of the Empire. These games are very similar, which is why I love them so much. I love Conquest of the Empire. I think I even love Blood Feud even more because I like the Mafia theme. But why are they the same color? They should be the color of the character that you're playing. The last thing that I don't like about it is the police precinct. I love the idea, but keeping up with how much is owed every time it gets taken over again is another daunting thing. Do I have to pay $230 or $330? I think you have to pay $330 because I paid $230 last time. No, I paid $330. Oh, you did? Okay, then pay $430. It gets ridiculous after a while and you keep forgetting. What I'm going to do is I'm going to buy some 6-sided dice and put them in the board game and attach those to any of the police precincts. And so each time it's bought, that pip will denote $100. I doubt anyone, if land switches more than 6 times in the game, which I don't see happening, you would have a problem there. But I think if you got some 6-sided die and add them in there, that would fix that problem. But that's the thing. Here I am talking about how to fix these problems. This should be a game that's well enough to stand on its own. The pieces are quality. The board is quality. The paper's garbage and the markers are a little cheap. But other than that, though, the game is really fun. I love this game. One of the problems that Conquest of the Empire had is when you captured one of the generals, you could kill him off or hold him for ransom. But why hold him for ransom? Because it's just going to, you give a general back to your enemy and you're going to have to defeat him anyway later on. Why give him it? So you would always, almost every time in every game we've ever played at Conquest of the Empire, you kill off the general. You always do that. But in this game, it's better to keep their family member, not general, their family member, because if you keep them and you destroy your opponent, then those family members which you captured work for you and you make more income. Wow! But you can also do drops. I love the neutral zones, like the parks and the airports. If you want to meet up there and do a drop, you know, exchange for prisoners or whatnot, you can do it there. I think that is a neat feature in the game. There's a lot of good stuff, even though with all its faults, there's a lot of good stuff in Blood Feud in New York, which is why, I mean, I got to go with Conquest of the Empire, I guess, above this one, only because of all the defects that I mentioned in the game. But you solve all those defects, and Blood Feud in New York, to me, is a much funner game than Conquest of the Empire, and that's saying a lot because I really love Conquest of the Empire. So should you get this game? Well, folks, it's really cheap. You've seen it now, how it's played, very easy. If you have Conquest of the Empire, you basically know the rules. You know, it's just different pawns moving around and a different theme laid over Conquest of the Empire. But if you can get over some of the defects that I talked about and you think the game is for you, then go for it. Super cheap. I got my copy for super cheap and I still see copies going out there for cheap. Anyway, gamers, that is all the time I have for now. Until next time, game on, you dirty rat.